Good morning, friends, and welcome to Trans India, Real People, Real Emotions. This week we shall continue our interaction with Mr. Gopinath Ramakrishnan, founder and partner of Wagh Consulting, and also we shall take you inside the launch of Tata Motors e-cargo transport solutions with the launch of the all-new Ace electric vehicle. Earlier this week, Tata Motors marked a significant leap forward in its drive towards promoting sustainable mobility with the launch of the all-new revolutionary Ace EV, the electric version of the ever-popular Ace, exactly 17 years after redefining India's freight movement. The new Ace EV, India's most advanced zero-emission four-wheel small commercial vehicle, is a green and smart transport solution ready to serve a wide variety of intercity applications. Mr. N. Chandrasekaran, Chairman Tata Sons and Tata Motors, who graced this special occasion, had this to say at the event. Listen in to what Mr. N. Chandrasekaran had to say.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's an absolute delight to be here with you all today at the launch of Tata Ace EV. It is a historic moment indeed. Sustainable mobility is an imperative as well as a trend that is irreversible, and it is a global mega trend. At the Tata Group, Tata Motors in particular, we have embraced this fully and made a business model that integrates sustainability as one of the key pillars. Whether it is in passenger cars or commercial vehicles or in Jaguar Land Rover, we are committed to make this transition and are accelerating it every day. Tata Motors has already made significant progress in its electrification journey. We already have launched several models in the electric car segment and are leading this movement in the passenger cars. And the commercial vehicles, we have successfully launched electric buses and we are seeing huge acceptance and pickup in that segment. Now, today marks the day where we are moving into e-cargo mobility with electric vehicles. Earlier today, I had the opportunity to several leading companies who are in the e-commerce segment and who have partnered with us over the last several months, giving inputs, and that has helped us to create the first vehicle, the electric Ace EV we are launching today. As you know, Tata Ace is not just any other truck. It is a forerunner. It is a category creator and a beacon of hope for many entrepreneurs and millions across India. By introducing the Ace EV, we are renewing our commitment to bring the benefits of electrification to all these entrepreneurs across the country. And I am deeply encouraged with the interest that it has created. But I am looking forward to a future where we will all work together to make this solution not only rolled out as a sustainable solution that protects the environment, but also a solution that adds value to everyone in the chain, to the customers, to the entrepreneurs, and to the end consumer. And we want to continue to engage and build e-cargo solutions not only in the Ace platform, but in other categories as per what is required to serve the market across the country. Thank you all for joining us today, and I look forward to another big movement in the e-cargo segment as we at Tata Motors press on with agility and speed in the sustainable mobility space. Thank you once again.
The new Ace EV, co-developed in rich collaboration with its users and supported by a diligently curated ecosystem, offers a holistic solution for e-cargo mobility. In addition to addressing the core need for timely, cost-effective and efficient last-mile deliveries, the Ace EV also serves the future commitment and aspirations of its customers to achieve net zero carbon footprint. Listen into what Mr. Girish Wagh, Executive Director Tata Motors, had to say about this launch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning to all the distinguished guests. I am delighted to have you with us today to mark a new beginning within the commercial vehicle business of Tata Motors. In today's post-pandemic world, there is an accelerated shift towards sustainability, which is driving us towards a green recovery. This fundamental change represents an opportunity to reset the agenda for future, which is in fact the inspiration behind today's theme, that is Future Delivered. It is evident that accelerated electrification in both passenger and cargo transportation is pivotal for shift towards sustainable mobility, and we are committed to facilitate this transition. The electrification journey at Tata Motors commercial vehicles started with intra-city public transport, encouraged by the government's push via the FAME initiatives. Today, Tata Motors has more than 645 electric buses running across 9 countries with more than 34 million kilometers covered cumulatively. Through a unique own and operate model, we have consistently delivered more than 95% uptime and a favorable operating cost structure for the state transport undertakings, along with a superior travel experience for the commuters. The recent CSL tender is a landmark opportunity to further strengthen our partnership with the state transport undertakings. Logistics is the backbone of our economy. Growing urbanization, digitalization, and infrastructure growth together are transforming India's logistics sector rapidly. E-commerce is booming, and the demand for last-mile distribution of goods is expanding significantly. This represents the next big opportunity for customized EV solutions. Today, we are beginning a new chapter within the small commercial vehicle segment, reinforcing our commitment to the Shunya campaign of Niti Aayog. This marks a significant milestone as the Tata Ace, our much-loved Chota Hathi, is about to become India's first commercially launched four-wheeled small commercial electric vehicle. You would have seen in the introductory video, exactly 17 years ago, on this very day of 5th May, the last mile goods transportation was revolutionized with the launch of Tata Ace. Since its launch in 2005, Ace has been a consistent winner with strong endorsement from more than 2 million proud owners. I think it couldn't be more apt than for the Ace EV to trigger the next zero-emission transition in India's cargo segment. Ace is already a vehicle of choice in the last-mile e-commerce application with more than 70% penetration. We collaborated with leading e-commerce players and the logistics service providers to understand their expectations of on-time and safe delivery, lower operating cost, and of course, sustainability. Ace EV has been co-developed with our customers to fit perfectly into their operating model. The launch today is not just of a vehicle, but also of a complete EV ecosystem solution aimed at addressing all the EV adoption barriers. With 50% more driving range compared to existing EV options, both fast and slow charging capability, the Ace EV is an ideal choice for intra-city goods transport. Powered by the all-new Evogen platform, Ace EV has undergone extensive validation across various duty cycles to deliver superior performance and safety in operations. Not only this, but our new-gen connected vehicle platform, the Fleet Edge, enables real-time connectivity with live monitoring of battery and vehicle health. So, with a holistic ecosystem solution that also includes a dedicated EV support center, as well as charging and financing solutions, we will offer maximum vehicle runtime, increasing the earning potential for every Ace EV owner. Before concluding, I would like to thank our e-commerce customers and their logistics service providers who have actively supported us in this journey. Many thanks to all our suppliers and channel partners for their valuable inputs and support. I can't end without calling out Team Electra, Tata Group companies, and the Tata Motors team for their tremendous contribution during this journey. I truly believe that the best time for new beginning is now. Thank you.
Tata Motors also announced signing of strategic memorandum of understanding with leading e-commerce companies and logistics service providers. These included Amazon, Big Basket, CityLink, Dot, Flipkart, Let's Transport, Move E-ing, and Yellow EV. This includes delivering 39,000 units of Ace EV, setting up dedicated electric vehicle support centers for maximum fleet uptime, deployment of Tata Fleet Edge, the next-gen optimal fleet management solution, and support of Tata Universe, the proven enabling ecosystem of relevant Tata Group companies.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now commence with the signing of the MOUs. Let us welcome the reps from these leading e-commerce players to begin the MOU signing. Some key members we're going to call up on this very stage. First of all, Mr. Akhil Saxena, Senior Vice President and Head Operations, Amazon APAC, MENA, LATAM. Round of applause. Mr. Hemant Badri, Senior Vice President and Head, SCM, Flipkart, Myntra, B2B Wholesale. Mr. KV Nagaraju, Chief Customer Experience Officer, Big Basket. Mr. Vikash Mishra, Founder and CEO, Moving. Mr. Vineet J. Behra, Chairman and CEO, Dot. Mr. Pushkar Singh, CEO and Director, Let's Transport. Mr. R. Jayakumar, Chairman, CityLink Logistics. And lastly, Mr. Abhishek Dabas, COO, Yellow EV. This is it, the signing of the MOU right here on this stage. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
That's it from the exclusive coverage of the Tata Ace EV launch. And coming up after this very short break, our exclusive interaction with Mr. Gopinath Ramakrishnan. Don't go anywhere. You are watching Trans India, real people, real emotions.
महिंद्रा ये गारंटी देते हैं कि उनका ब्लेजो एक्स सबसे ज्यादा माइलेज देता है, वरना कर दीजिए ट्रक वापस।
सॉरी अजय, महिंद्रा फ्यूरियो है। एक्शन।
महिंद्रा गारंटी देते हैं कि उनका फ्यूरियो सबसे ज्यादा माइलेज देता है, नहीं तो
एक्चुअली जयो, महिंद्रा जयो है, थोड़ा चेंज है। एंड एक्शन।
महिंद्रा ये गारंटी देते हैं कि उनका जयो सबसे। चल क्या रहा है यहाँ पे?
मैम, ये चारों ट्रक ज्यादा माइलेज देते हैं, चारों।
तो ऐसा बोलो ना, ब्लेजो एक्स, फ्यूरियो, फ्यूरियो 7 और जयो। महिंद्रा के ये सभी ट्रक्स देते हैं सबसे ज्यादा माइलेज की गारंटी, नहीं तो कर दीजिए इन्हें वापस। महिंद्रा, देश की सबसे ज्यादा माइलेज देने वाली ट्रक रेंज।
Welcome back to Trans India, real people, real emotions. I am Girish and we are interacting with Gopinath Ramakrishnan, founder and partner of Wagh Consulting. Gopi, you have been interacting with a lot of youngsters in the industry, especially through the program that you orchestrated for them in a way. How do you read these youngsters, especially keeping the future of the industry in mind?
I think that this is a very, very difficult question to answer in totality. It's like saying that do you play cricket or follow cricket? Absolutely. We have the MRF Pace Foundation here, right? So they groom a lot of youngsters as pace bowlers. Now, if you ask how many of them or how are they doing, obviously everybody doesn't make it to Test cricket or to the ODI squad or even to T20, right? But a handful do. Yes. And that handful make a difference. Not in the second test we had against South Africa, but otherwise in general, if you see the whole of 2021, it's been our pace attack that's been talked about, right? Indian pace attack. And it comes down to 5 or 6 or 8 people. Correct. Even though there would be 100 people who were groomed by MRF Pace Foundation, and to groom the 100, probably 1,000 were looked at, So we should be clear, are we talking about the 1,000 or are we talking about the 5 or 10? Right? So like in any other field, like I just gave the example of the cricket, even in transport, there may be 1,000 youngsters who have potential, who have the ability, right? And Girish, you've been part of the Mahindra Awards, you've been part of the CET Awards, so many different programs, Apollo Awards, as well as the IIM program that Mahindra started. And you see this, we come across so many youngsters who appear very bright, very capable. Not all of them actually take their potential forward and fulfill it, which is okay. It doesn't happen to everybody. Everybody doesn't get. There are so many issues that they themselves face in their own organization, their own family, and so on, as well as, of course, their own, kind of self-motivation. But those who do, those who make it, I think they're a remarkable force. Because I've seen people who've finished the IIM program, the Empower program, and then 3 months later say, I've reduced my business by 40%. No, what happened? No, I made it happen because that 40% was unprofitable. I've learned how to analyze my business and I've realized that I'm actually making a loss, which we didn't know, because we were servicing unprofitable customers, unprofitable routes, and so on. So we've definitely taken a call in a very, very analytical and deterministic manner to reduce the size of our business at this moment so that we can become more profitable, right? So that's one way. Somebody else who comes in and says that I have now instituted MIS systems across and I'm able to see what is the productivity of my different branches because they are in parcel service and they have operations everywhere. I'm able to see what is the profitability and I'm able to figure out before I open a new branch what the returns will be, because now I have data and I'm using the data right. A third person comes and talks about how branding has become important, and I've started the entire exercise of branding my services so that I can be different from my competition. I can provide a differentiator to my customer and the customer will think of me when they want that service. So I think these are the people who are at the kind of the forefront of change, and they're doing it each in their own way. And we need more such people.
Do you feel happy that you've been part of this very exciting journey, hand-holding them, encouraging them and guiding them whenever and wherever required?
Oh, it's been a wonderful experience. I think I should thank Mahindra for that because they gave the opportunity. They were very keen to do something for the industry. I think that was something which was the starting point, where Mahindra said we want to be a differentiator as far as the trucking system ecosystem is concerned. And I was able to bring in, thanks to my network, bring in IIM Ahmedabad, interacted with Professor Raghuram, who was in IIM Ahmedabad at that time, and he was very keen to do a program for truckers. So we kind of put the two together and worked with them to build this. And it's been a fascinating journey because you've seen the evolution of, these youngsters who've come in as kind of a little raw, little nervous about attending college all over again, which they probably didn't excel at when they were there the first time, and that too coming into India's premier management institution. So they were a little nervous about it. They were a little concerned about sharing their business details with a bunch of competitors. And one of the things I used to tell them all in the inaugural program was that I said, number one, the learning experience is going to be as much outside the classroom as it is inside. Because you're going to be interacting with each other, you're going to be learning a lot more. And it's not just about business, it's also about life, it's also about, how to handle your papa or chacha, or your driver. So all of those things you will learn as much outside as inside. Number two, you come in and you're sitting here and you're seeing a bunch of competitors. When you leave from here after a week, you will see a bunch of friends and collaborators. And that happened with regular intervals. I remember one of the early programs, there was, when you're introducing yourself, one of the guys stood up and said, we do FMCG, we work for Samsung and LG. Not FMCG, sorry, consumer durables. We work for Samsung, LG, etc. And 5 minutes later, another guy, when it was his turn, got up and said, we also do consumer durables and we work for these same companies. And they both looked at each other, oh my God, this guy's my competitor. A week down the road, we are out for dinner, and very casually one of them asks, you're doing in the north, na, for LG, kya rate mil raha hai? And then you can, the two of them get into a huddle and they start talking about it. I said, listen guys, now you got a very good chance to negotiate together, because now you know each other's strengths, you know each other as friends, and you're able to put your businesses together to give a comprehensive solution to the customer. It's not that you're trying to cheat the customer or to negotiate with them just from the point of view of the rates, but you can give a more comprehensive solution. Because one of the ironies of transport, and it was earlier much more prevalent with the individual state taxes as opposed to GST, was that, for example, in Tamil Nadu, one of the borderline towns is Hosur. It's a stone's throw from Bangalore, practically an extension of Bangalore. But Bangalore is in a different state. So earlier when you had state-wise stocking, stockists, etc., a washing machine that broke down in Hosur would have to be serviced from Chennai, which is 300 kilometers away, as opposed to Bangalore, which is 20 kilometers away, right? So it actually sounds ridiculous, right? But now look at it, if you had a transporter for Tamil Nadu versus a transporter for Karnataka, who would now deliver the parts to Hosur? If you are able to get a transporter, two transporters who collaborate, then they can work together and get things done, because the border, one of them can cross the border and go to the other one very easily without having a problem with the guy who's handling that territory. And I'm sure the same thing holds good for so many different places.
Gopi, what would be the key takeaways of the IIM program according to you?
Okay. The first thing I think which is coming out foremost is that it has instilled a sense of pride in most of the youngsters that this is an industry that is worth being in. This is an industry I can be proud of, and it's an industry which I can make a difference in. Because a lot of them were still a little concerned about this being an industry which doesn't get much attention, and that's true, right? On the national level, it doesn't get much attention. You're dealing with a lot of people whom you normally would not want to deal with socially. So whether it's your driver or the mechanic or whoever, you don't want to deal with them, but you're forced to deal with them on work. And you always get the feeling that we're the underdog in everything, right? With the customer, with the regulators, etc. So first they got a sense of pride that this is a business worth being in. The second thing is that they got a sense of purpose. They said, okay, this is what I can do, because you're working in the business, you're working in accordance with what your dad is saying, your uncle is saying, your grandpa is saying. You don't know what you can do differently and how to do it. So coming to IIM, undergoing a course where you're taught the different aspects of management, you're discussing so much about the challenges in the industry, the challenges of working in a family business, the challenge of dealing with customers who are from large corporates. And then you're able to put together some ideas on what can I do. So a lot of them left saying that these are the three things I want to try and do. I may not succeed, but at least I have a sense of purpose. So you have a sense of belief in the industry, pride in the industry, you have a sense of purpose, and then thirdly, you have suddenly a network of your own. You have a set of sounding boards. The friends, the IIM faculty, the Mahindra people, us. You have people you can talk to and say, you know what, I'm thinking of doing this. What do you think? Is it a good idea? So you start, because earlier what you had was the previous generation. You had your, uncles and dad and so on, who obviously are going to tell you what to do more than listen to what you have to say. You didn't have a peer group with whom you could bounce off things. So this gave a peer group. And therefore, even now, even 6 months back, I got a call from one of the guys who had gone through Empower and said, we want to expand, we want to hire somebody. Can you recommend somebody? So I said, why don't you go through normal process? He said, sir, if you recommend, then I know it'll be a good person, So it's very useful to have that network, because you've gone through this and you're able to call, and obviously I may not be the only person he called. He may have called 2 or 3 other of his, batchmates and asked them as well. So these are the things we think as the strongest takeaways for these guys, which are helping them to take it forward.
महिंद्रा ये गारंटी देते हैं कि उनका ब्लेजो एक्स सबसे ज्यादा माइलेज देता है, वरना कर दीजिए ट्रक वापस।
सॉरी अजय, महिंद्रा फ्यूरियो है। एक्शन।
महिंद्रा गारंटी देते हैं कि उनका फ्यूरियो सबसे ज्यादा माइलेज देता है, नहीं तो
एक्चुअली जयो, महिंद्रा जयो है, थोड़ा चेंज है। एंड एक्शन।
महिंद्रा ये गारंटी देते हैं कि उनका जयो सबसे चल क्या रहा है यहाँ पे?
मैम, ये चारों ट्रक ज्यादा माइलेज देते हैं, चारों।
तो ऐसा बोलो ना, ब्लेजो एक्स, फ्यूरियो, फ्यूरियो 7 और जयो, महिंद्रा के ये सभी ट्रक्स देते हैं सबसे ज्यादा माइलेज की गारंटी, नहीं तो कर दीजिए इन्हें वापस। महिंद्रा, देश की सबसे ज्यादा माइलेज देने वाली ट्रक रेंज।
Gopi, how do you see the future of the road transport industry, and how much are the youngsters going to make a difference? How will they shape the future?
I don't think they have a choice. They have to make a difference. The transport industry, if it continues the way it is going to have a lot of problems. The traditional transport industry. For a few years now, I've been talking about 3D printing and the kind of impact it's going to have on the transport industry. Right now, when I first mentioned it, people said that's science fiction, it doesn't work. Now you see that there are products which are coming out, there are companies who are, using parts which are 3D printed. Boeing uses them, GM has started to use them, and so on. And this is suddenly going to become a wave. It'll become a tsunami. That little waves of 3D printing, where it's still a novelty, is going to be a tsunami. What does that mean? Products won't be transported because they'll be made on the spot. So you will have a 3D printer and you will make sure that the product you need is printed right there. We think it's very far-fetched, but if you see the kind of impact that things like email have had on the postal service and the courier industry, it's made a huge difference. I mean, have couriers died out? No, they've not died out. But is it as booming as it was, prior to email? Definitely not. I mean, all of us used to send out letters every day, either by traditional post or registered post or courier or whatever. Today, I have to do it once in a rare while when actually a physical signature is required on the document, right? Even the IT department takes everything online. I don't have to send your IT return signed and sealed. So when that builds up over a period of time, then suddenly you find there's no business anymore. These are very, very kind of slow but very certain changes that happen. And you see a lot of industries which are dead and which we have taken for granted. If you look back, at one point every office had a fax machine, every visiting card had a fax number. None of us do anymore, right? Every house had a device blinking 000, which was your VCR, which you don't have anymore, right? I mean, let's not even go back to, record players and so on. But I'm saying all of these are very well-established organizations. A Panasonic VCR was a big thing. It was huge business for Panasonic, right? And now it's not there.
Are you suggesting that the transporters can be replaced in the future?
Not all of it, right? Just like the courier industry has not been replaced by email, but it has been substantially hammered. The same thing can happen, one, through things like 3D printing. Second is that you're going to see a lot more investment coming in. Already you see there are so many unicorns which are logistics related firms, right? Delivery or Rivigo or whoever else. You're going to see a lot more of these guys come in. Not only from startups, but also from the large global players. So you will see the DHLs of the world expand. You will see more such players come in. I think Maersk was interested in, because they want to be end-to-end. They want to, have control of the operations. They don't want to risk that their container load is going onto some truck and trailer they've never, heard of, and they don't have any access to in terms of information or control in terms of safety and so on. And the regulations in India are also changing. Your things are being more system-driven from a government perspective. For example, I know a lot of international players didn't want to do trucking operations in India because it used to be very cash-based, right? You had to pay cash for petrol, you had to pay for diesel, you had to pay cash for the tolls, etc. And cash for other things as well, unaccounted. Now all that is coming down. It's becoming more, streamlined. Everything can happen using a credit card or Google Pay or whatever. So there's more incentive for global players to come in because they want everything to be a little clean. They want accountability to be there in terms of the expenses. So you will see a lot of more global investments happening, which means that you will see some amount of consolidation. Obviously, the industry is huge and there are a lot of these small players, so all that is not going to get consolidated. But enough will happen at the creamy layer. So the most lucrative contracts, because if you take a Hindustan Lever or a Castrol or anybody like that, wouldn't they want to go with a globally renowned or reputed player, one-stop shop who can do everything for them, who can handle their exports all the way to destination, who can handle their imports, who can handle the domestic transport, everything, right? So all the more, forward-thinking players from the customer side will naturally gravitate towards any large global player who comes in, which means that the middle layer in the domestic transport, in the traditional transport, gets squeezed. A guy who owns 500 trucks will be at risk. Either he gets absorbed into a larger player, or he has to evolve into a larger player, or he has to evolve into a differentiated player.
Gopi, we always keep talking about the large fleet owners, the 3PL players. What about the small truckers, SRTOs? What's in store for them?
So the smaller truckers will always be the add-ons. They will always be the fringe players who will get a little bit of business, spillover business from the large customers, or they will be the cushion for the larger players. Because when there is a variability in demand, you cannot add assets overnight. So there's going to be a rush for Diwali, Christmas, New Year. So obviously there'll be extra trucks which are brought in, which will be from the smaller guys. So the smaller guys will see that their business becomes very seasonal. And perhaps they'll get compensated for that. Maybe you get paid a certain 2x amount during those months and you get no business at other times. That's likely to happen. And then of course you have the less formal movements as well, right? It's not always going to be a Hindustan Lever moving thing. There are smaller players, smaller acquired traders, etc. So you will get business from there, which again becomes very competitive. It's going to stay competitive. It's going to be very much, price driven. They're not going to be looking at things like safety and, maintenance of the vehicle and so on. But at the higher end is where the risk is because of the entry of larger players which can come in. Things like 3D printing, which will take their own time to happen. And of course, we don't know what is going to happen in terms of, the regulations which will come in terms of the kind of technology, for example, electric or, other fuels, which will bring about a barrier to entry or a barrier to expansion for some of the large players. See, even when we talked about BS6 coming in, there's a certain cost differential in operating a BS6 vehicle, right? And if you're not able to recoup that from your customer, and a lot of large transporters who said, I'm going asset light now, and part of it was this, they said, we don't want to have the additional capex, we can't afford it, it doesn't make sense for us. because you're not able to get that value back from the customer. See, you're still transporting 4 tons of chips from point A to point B. Now you're transporting 4 tons of chips in a more expensive vehicle, and you're spending more on the additive and so on. It doesn't impress anybody, because you and I don't want to pay an extra rupee for the packet of chips. So why will the manufacturer want to pay you more as a transporter? So that's where again it comes back to this question of what is the value you are adding? What is the differentiation? Are you able to provide any of that? So if you don't do that, you're going to get naturally pushed out of the market because of your inability to manage the financials.
So value addition is not just going to be critical, but it's also going to be a savior, is what you're suggesting, right?
Value addition is the only thing that keeps us alive. Value, it is, see, I think it was, it's a traditional thing in management, right? You can compete on price, right? Or you can compete on focus. You have to be different. You have to have something which is different, which is not available with your competitor. What does it mean? It means that you need to be able to do something which the other people cannot do or cannot imitate easily. Anything which is brought in as a differentiator will be adopted by somebody else. Apple brought in the very first iPhone when nobody asked for the ability to flick pictures, right? Nobody asked for icons to press on a touch screen. No customer asked for it. So everybody else was giving the customer what he wanted. Oh, I want bigger buttons. I want a better speaker phone. That was what we had in our old, what we call feature phones these days. Then Apple brought in this amazing device which was totally different. And you could spot an Apple iPhone at that time because it was the only one without a keypad. But today everybody has a device without a keypad. So all those features which Apple brought in were differentiators for a short period of time. And that's the law of the universe. Anything you may do differently, your value addition is only for a limited period of time. So you have to constantly innovate. You have to constantly be bringing in different value additions, because today you say that, like the example I gave, the guy says, I'll do warehousing for you in addition to transport. Great. But how long does it take for the competitor to say, I'll also open a warehouse. I'll also have one right next to the thing. I can do the same thing for you. And I'll do for 1 rupee less. Very easy. So you have to keep innovating. So there's no single answer, right? You have to keep doing things differently. You have to keep innovating both in terms of cost and time and the traditional parameters. You have to do things better. And you have to innovate in terms of the services that you provide. If you don't do that, it's evolution, right? You have to evolve. If you don't evolve, then you're a dodo.
Absolutely.
And that's what's happening to the industry. You're being treated like a dodo because you're being treated as an absolute commodity player. Why does the government not treat the transport lobby or the transport industry with as much respect as it does to, let's say, pharmaceuticals or software or automotive? Because you're not able to prove your worth in this world. You're not able to prove your worth in the country. Yes, everybody knows that it's required. When the COVID lockdowns, the truckers were lauded, they were garlanded, but they were also booted and blamed for everything, right? People understood instinctively that you need trucks to move in order to get the goods here. But it was also seen as a commodity. It's also seen as, today when you go and buy salt, for the most part, people just buy salt. They don't buy anything which is very different, salt or sugar or anything else. You're just buying So how is it different from the next shops or the next town's salt or sugar? There's no difference. What do you buy on? You buy on a cursory look at, does it look clean, right? In the sack that the guy has it in. And then you look at the price. And unfortunately, transport is becoming like that. It's becoming a commodity. And nobody values commodities beyond a point.
Well, friends, that was our interaction with Gopinath Ramakrishnan. It's very evident that the future of road transport is going to be challenging, and it is also important to note that the industry needs to come together. We have been saying this for decades, but somehow the industry is competing on a lot of issues, a lot of things, be it business or be it associations. Rather than competing with each other, we look forward to a day when this industry will stand together as one. There will not be truckers, there will not be transporters, there will not be brokers, but there will be one industry, the road transport industry. Can the industry move forward and shape it for them in a way that would benefit all the players in the road transport industry. That's it from our interaction segment this week, and next week we will be back with another very exciting and interesting interview. And please don't forget to subscribe before you leave. Until next week, stay safe. Jai Hind.